Hey, everybody, it's Mitch Goldberg with the wealth management firm Client First Strategy. A few odds and ends in what I think is going to be a very brief live stream today. Just a couple things I want to cover. Sometimes not everything has to be a whole big lesson because it doesn't take a whole big lesson to make a couple of points. So we're going to talk about Nvidia. We're going to talk about order of operations with your money. It's just a quick point I'm going to make. And someone who is wrestling with the idea of keeping a large amount of cash versus paying off an auto loan. Okay, so I'm going to talk about these three quick things. These are the kinds of topics that come up often in my day-to-day practice. And if a lot of people have these questions, there's a pretty good chance that you or someone you know will have the same questions. And that's really the thing I like to talk about the most. So here's the intro. We're going to start with NVIDIA right after this in about 20 seconds. All right, and we're back, and I changed the screen. You see this? It says up top, 52-week high today, NVIDIA. Just a few months ago, that was too hot to handle. Momentum, time to sell. The big, Magnificent Seven stocks started to come down, but then Apple came back to highs, and then Microsoft and Nvidia. And Nvidia's, $3+ trillion market cap, almost $3.4 trillion. It is the king, the undisputed heavyweight champion of artificial intelligence investing. And basically, if you can't get your hands on NVIDIA chips, then you are not in business if you are in artificial intelligence. So the stock, I just want to point this out. The stock reached a new all-time high today at of $140.89, but it closed at 136 and change, up a little bit in aftermarket. So let's call it 137. The fact that it closed a few bucks off its daily high to me, there is a whiff of momentum in the stock. It got popular again. I'm not saying this is not a great company and their new Blackwell chip isn't the hottest thing going ever in the history of semiconductor chips, and everybody needs their equipment. But everyone needs their chips. But if you believe artificial intelligence could create a multi-trillion-dollar opportunity for the economy, US, global, all around trillions of dollars, then you have to take a look at the valuation that's been created since artificial intelligence got really hot about a year and a half ago. And if you look at the money that's been created, maybe 2 years ago, if you look at the money that's been created in the gains of Nvidia and Meta and Microsoft, all the big names you talk about, and lots of other chip names, Taiwan Semiconductor, we have already created, or we've already witnessed the creation of trillions of dollars in market cap already. So maybe the stocks are valued a little ahead of the opportunity, because right now, artificial intelligence, it's really just starting to make its way into businesses. It's still very new, and you haven't seen anyone like Walmart or Target or McDonald's, big companies that presumably could take advantage of our artificial intelligence to say, hey, we cut our labor costs by a lot, or we increased direct ads or revenues by a lot, all because of artificial intelligence. We haven't seen it yet. So I don't want to be one of these doubters that says, oh, it's too much, too hyped. I'm not saying that. But mathematically, if the opportunity is worth trillions of dollars, and we've already seen the creation of trillions of dollars of stock market value, then maybe the stocks are already where they should be, but ahead of time. Only time will tell. Which brings me to the question, should you treat Nvidia like it's a special stock? If I get this all the time. Should I buy Nvidia? Should I buy more Nvidia? Should I sell Nvidia? What should I do with Nvidia? Do you own Nvidia? I get these all the time. And if you want to know the answers to these questions specifically for you, you can call me, right? You can call me, you can send me an email. We'll set up some time to talk about this specifically because I'm not going to sit here and say everyone should own Nvidia. I don't give blanket advice because there's no one size fits all. But having said that, in a very general term, should you have stocks, you have exchange traded funds, you have mutual funds, you have stock market investments, whether if they're in a package like an ETF or mutual fund or just an individual stock like just Nvidia. My feeling is no, I would not treat Nvidia like it's a special stock above and beyond your other holdings. If you're going to buy Nvidia, if you're in Nvidia, it's another stock that you have. Any stock can turn against you. There was a day and age when Lucent was the must-have stock, one of the most widely held stocks in America, and it went from 100 to 1. Never, ever recovered. And that was considered, the blue chip of the tech stocks right before the tech bubble happened. Now, there are parallels to the tech bubble of 2000, but I don't think it's a perfect explanation or a perfect comparison. There's never a perfect comparison. We can just take lessons we learned from the last disaster and try to incorporate those into what we're doing now. So, for someone like me who has 35 years of experience as a financial advisor, I am probably going to be a little bit more conservative than someone who has never seen a true disastrous bubble pop in the market. So when I see a stock go up a lot, I have a tendency to take a little off the table a little bit at a time. Eventually, I'll be left with that core forever holding. But on the way up, I like to make sure I take a little something out and reinvest and continuously reinvest. I wouldn't treat personally Nvidia like it's more special than a Procter and Gamble, for example, or a GE or a Chipotle or a Netflix. It's a stock, and stocks go up and stocks go down. And it's important for you to realize that if you have a rule where a stock shouldn't be more than 5% of your portfolio or shouldn't be more than 10% of your portfolio, or if it reaches 10% of your portfolio, you scale it back down to 5, whatever your investing rule is, you should follow that. Those rules are designed to keep you out of trouble. They're a compromise. They could help you miss out on upside, but they could also help you save your hide. And that is really important. A rules-based approach treats every investment pretty much the same. It's called discipline. And I think when you break your own rules because you think you've got something extra special, you have to be willing to take that risk that maybe it is a bubble. Maybe, Nvidia has peaked. Maybe it's just a momentum stock, and starting in 2025, it could start to go down a lot. It could also go up a lot. So it's not a call on Nvidia. It's a call on how you invest that is more important, your temperament, your ability to stick to your strategy, than it is whether or not Nvidia goes from a $3.4 trillion market cap to a $6.8 trillion market cap. That's what I think about that. Now let's talk about something else. I like to call it the order of finance. Speaking to somebody, and I speak with people all the time, a lot of people don't differentiate a savings account from an emergency fund. So I'm going to start by saying I don't like the expression save for a rainy day. I do like the expression emergency fund for a rainy day. I like to keep those two concepts, emergency fund and savings account, I keep them separate. The reason is an emergency fund is for example, if you have $1,000 deductible on auto collision. Okay, if you get into a car accident, or if you have a $10,000 deductible against wind damage and you live in a hurricane zone like in Florida, that is money for an emergency fund. You have to be ready at any given time to spend that money for an emergency. That's why we call it emergency fund. I get that. So why isn't that a savings account? I look at a savings account as money for expenses that you expect to have. So savings is for expectations. So how do I look at it? Like, how do I look at that? If you know your house is going to need a new roof and it's going to be $20,000 and you've got, let's say, 3 years left on that roof, that money would be in savings. If you know your car is ready to go and you want to buy a new car, and after you trade in your vehicle, you're going to have to come up with extra cash, that money comes from savings. So savings is for known expenses. Now, you could have some extra savings because you like a nice extra cash cushion. That's okay. But an emergency fund is for emergencies that you don't know if you're going to get the hurricane or not. You don't know if you're going to get into a car accident or not. But you do know you're going to need new tires. You do know eventually you'll probably need a newer car and you'll probably need a new roof on your house. That, my friends, is what the emergency fund is for. I'm sorry, that's what the savings is for. Uh, how much should you keep in savings? Well, what if you have a $90,000 automobile loan on a very expensive car that you're paying 5% on, but you have $500,000 savings in the bank and you're earning 4% on that and going lower? Well, you could make yourself an extra 1% by getting rid of that loan and giving up the $90,000. You're not losing it. You're just simply paying what you actually owe. So you're just moving that over to get rid of the liability. Now, some people like to pay off slowly, but you have to take a look at the interest, what you're earning on your money, and sometimes it makes sense to part with some cash and pay down the debt and get rid of the payment. Now, this isn't for everybody, and I was dealing with this with a client working on this. He has decided he would rather pay off a pretty substantial automobile loan in the next 3 years and pay it off now, even though financially it makes sense to get rid of the auto loan today. Plus, a dollar today is worth more than a dollar tomorrow. So by getting rid of that auto loan, he's using better value dollars and he can get rid of the auto loan. So that's one more thing. Last thing is credit cards. Should you keep extra cash in a credit card? Let's say, $5,000 in a credit card bill. I'll send in $6,000. I have the extra money and I'll just prepay my credit card. There's no advantage to doing that. You could be penalized by not earning as many credit card points or perks as you otherwise would have. And basically, you're putting money aside that you're not getting any interest on. The credit card company isn't making money on that either. But I don't think it really makes sense to do that. I think there are other things that are more important to prepay, including an automobile loan, including maybe you have a high interest home loan or a HELOC or something like that. So I don't see any reason ever why somebody would go above and beyond what they owe on a credit card and leave a negative balance so that they could just prepay spending down the road. Makes no sense, and I just think it's a raw deal for you, the consumer. All right, I told you this would be a brief live stream. I appreciate you taking the time. If you have any questions, reach out to me. I love talking shop, personal finance, investing, and what's right for you. We put out a new marketing piece about some of the biggest changes that we have coming up with Client First Strategy, some of the biggest changes in 20 years. If you'd like me to send you that, just say in the comments, send, or just let me know in the comments and I'll send it to you. It would be my pleasure to do so, or send me an email. You see my email address is in the scroll in the bottom. All right. I will speak with you Monday. Have a great weekend. Bye.